A friend of mine, Dan, who's actually in the room, hi Dan, once had a go at me saying, Jess, every single talk you've ever given is a very, very happy voice talk about how everything in technology is terrible. So please enjoy some spoilers. So my name is Jessica Rose. I'm originally, you may be able to tell, from the States a long time ago, and I'm working at FutureLearn now, and it's fantastic. If you're a front-end developer and you love developing for the front end, I hear that Made by Many may be hiring. If you want to do sort of some opsy stuff instead, and you want to learn new things around that, maybe come and chat to me afterwards. See me after class. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is what's fantastic about working in technology. Working in technology has a lot of things, especially when you look at other industries, that are glorious. The average software engineer makes $70,000 a year. That figure's garbage. That figure is absolutely unhelpful. The average software engineer makes $70,000 a year has nothing to do with our experience. Hey, if I'm in San Francisco and I'm giving this talk, this is fine. This is not San Francisco. I want to talk to you about what's great about working in technology here in London. Here in London, the average software engineer makes about £43,000. Do we feel okay with that? Anybody want to raise some outraged eyebrows? Oh, I see. This isn't fantastic for everybody. Not all of us have our own sports cars, but this is £10,000 higher than the average salary here in London. So the last question right before we broke was saying, do you know what? There are so many developer roles unfilled. 1 in 4 tech roles here in London are going to go unfilled this year. The official national unemployment rate is 4.3%, but for young people, which we've got a bunch in the crowd, it's 11, almost 12%. Relative to other industries, we're incredibly lucky in technology. Remote work, who here gets to work remotely? Well, some of the time, all of the time. Is it great? Oh. That's great, because the person who had their hand up was just like, Who here has a dress code? Oh. Oh. Is it like wear clothes? Generally speaking, a lot of us can rock into work wearing essentially whatever we want. The opportunity to start your own business. We aren't in San Francisco. There's not free money on every corner. Is there? I'm getting a lot wrong here. There's a lot of people who are like, no, there's free money. There's free money. But we do have a lot of opportunities for investment. You've got a weird opportunity to do something you genuinely care about. Maybe you work in accountancy software, and maybe you don't dream about accountancy software. But with 1 in 4 tech jobs being unfilled, and with open source projects, with side projects, you genuinely have the opportunity to either spend some of your free time building something that legitimately changes the world, or you have the opportunity to get paid for something you genuinely believe in. This is glorious. You meet so many engineers, so many techies who've really internalized that. You say, hey, I'm really lucky. I must be great. I'm a genius. I deserve all of this. Everything's wonderful. Quite. And it's tempting to go that way. Working in tech, for many people, not for everybody, is pretty good. Relative to other industries, it's fantastic. And talking about that, it's incredibly easy to overlook that a lot of times tech doesn't work for everyone. And working in technology isn't always well suited for people. Working in tech isn't always designed for the way humans like to work. Who here works someplace that has, don't raise your hands, especially if your coworker's here, just like a sarcastic eyebrows? Who here works someplace that has a ton of crunch time? You get a lot of, it's not unpaid because there's a beer fridge, but there's some overtime, right? Who here's ever encountered burnout? Oh, there's like actual hands going up. Or you can raise your hands if you like as well. Who here has a difficult time with work-life balance? Within technology, we often have a terrible, terrible time with that. And within technology, discrimination and harassment are active problems that exist. So, as the spoiler said, everything in technology is terrible, but great relative to some other things. And it can be really overwhelming. You say, everything is terrible forever. I'm just gonna flip my table over. I quit. There's nothing I can do. It's a huge, big problem. Rawr. And it is a big problem. And there are big problems. And I've been thinking about what we can do that's small and measured that has immediate impacts. Who here knows about progressive enhancement? Just make a loud murmur. On the count of 3, please yell your favorite one-sentence definition for progressive enhancement. 1, 2, 3. No, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing at me thinking that was going to work. 1, 2, 3. Y'all are terrible. I'm talking about progressive enhancement for the way we work, your workplaces, and maybe slowly for tech as a culture. Are we okay with this? Fix what you can when you can, do a little more when you have the bandwidth? Fix the stuff that probably won't break things? Y'all were a lot chirpier when we were laughing at me. So I'm going to talk about things we can do as individuals that immediately make our working lives better. And then I'm going to talk about things we can do as companies. Can we, maybe eyebrows instead of raising your hands so nobody jumps on you. Who here is a manager or a boss? Who runs your own thing? Y'all are terrible at not raising your hands. You're just like, yeah. As individuals, we have a fantastic opportunity to mentor, tutor, and champion. If you're coming into the industry and you're brand new and you're asking, how do I find a job? How do I learn this? What is networking like? Having somebody willing to step up and walk you through this can be an incredible, wonderful experience. Taking the time, if you know about what's going on, spotlight the people who are doing great work. Taking the opportunity to say, hey, do you know what? I'm working in the Elixir community. It's fantastic. Here are great resources. Here are great information. Hi, I've been working for this company. I can unreservedly recommend working for them. That's okay. This is an immediate positive thing we can do that costs us nothing. Wherever you can and wherever it's not a huge cost, do outreach beyond technology. Who here has family that thinks that you're a magician? You're like, oh, what does such and such do? Oh, yeah, computers, but websites, but not. Talk about what you do and talk about the opportunities in technology in ways that are understandable for folks who don't work in tech. It's really tempting to make yourself sound very, very clever and important. What do? Huge pile of technical jargon. I mean, your blowhard auntie at Christmas, yeah, go for it. But if you're talking to folks where you want to say, I do this, I help build websites for cultural institutions. I help build learning tools. I help speed up the way people use the internet. Talking about things like that in accessible ways, talking about how you got into it, can really help grow the pool of people who got into tech for the first time. Who here had a traditional computer science degree? Who here self-trained or got into tech through weird ways? Amazing. Just by saying, here's what I do in real understandable ways, you're giving new people opportunities to join you. And you've got the opportunity as an individual to make suggestions. You can't do big company changes on your own unless you're the big boss, but you can say, I'd love if we could do this. There was a really angry woman giving a talk last night who told us to do that. There are really fantastic opportunities for you to steer not just your company, but the tech communities you exist in. And I've helpfully color-coded the stuff you can do with no risk and light blue. I've got a couple slightly higher risk ones. You can, as an individual working in technology, you can clearly set and enforce your boundaries. Hi, I need you to work late again tonight. You know, just crunch time. It'll be just 3-4 more weeks. sprint and a half, that's fine. 1 in 4 tech jobs is unfilled. You can absolutely say no. They're probably not going to fire you. But that probably has a lot of wiggle room in it. But by setting and enforcing these boundaries, you're immediately making your life slightly more difficult. There's going to be some conflict, there's going to be some pushback. But you've got the potential to make your own personal working life a lot better. And if you're clearly setting these boundaries, you're making things better for your coworkers as well. Libel laws, eh? The same way I want you spotlighting great places to work, great communities to work with, and great people to associate with, whoever has worked for some place that you wish someone had warned you about. Sorry, I was again hoping for eyebrows. People are like, give people a gentle heads up. You don't have to do this in a way that it could expose yourself to legal liabilities. You can infer quite a bit. Oh, you're interviewing with company XYZ. XYZ. I've heard things about them. Good things? Things. You're chatting to people who are fairly smart. Give them a heads up. Like, oh, you're getting involved with this community. I hear they have a lot going on. Use judicious eyebrows. And where you can, challenge inappropriate behavior. Don't just warn people, you might not want to hang out with that person, or you might not want to work for that company. Saying very clearly, and in a calm, even tone, that's not the way we do things. I wouldn't expect you to speak to someone like that. Having your employees work overtime every week isn't cool, it's not appropriate. You're getting a really fantastic opportunity not just to set your own boundaries, but to set the expectations of what you have for people around you. Those very excited people who are like, I've got my own company, I can do whatever I want. Here's what I would like you to do. Set very clear policies around working hours and overtime. There are absolutely times where you need just a little bit more. You've got a deadline, it's inflexible, this has to happen. Be very clear with your employees and very clear with your teammates about why there's this expectation. You need some kind of consensus. Yes, this is worth it to us. And make those times rare and beautiful. You can't just say, I want everyone to go home at insert arbitrary but appropriate time here. As leadership, you actually have to do it as well. You have to turn off Slack. You have to stop answering emails. You have to set the kind of example that you want your employees to lead. You've also got the opportunity to do outreach into communities that are not currently represented in your talent. If you look around and everybody at your table looks like you and sounds like you and thinks like you, not only are you probably not getting enough ideas, enough diversity of thought as it were, but you're also really limiting the pool of opportunities to folks who think like you and share your ideals. A couple years ago, I was incredibly pleased with myself. I hired the only all-female developer relations team I had ever seen. There were 4 of us, we were hanging out, it was fantastic. We went out for drinks after work when it slowly, horrifyingly dawned on me that I had hired a bunch of Jessies. We all liked the same thing. We had all gone to pretty much the same kind of school. We all got along fantastically, and I had done a terrible job in hiring. Make sure that you're looking for where other developers, where other technologists are, and what kinds of opportunities you can make more available to them. It's incredibly difficult to quantify what you mean by doing a good job, but make sure that you're hiring and make sure you're promoting people based on very, very clear formula. If you're interviewing, ask everyone the same questions and score them. We really like to think we're logical people following logical processes. But if you have interviews and ask folks whatever comes to mind, Oh, wow, what did you do in your last project? How is this? You're just making a gut choice on like, well, that person was really cool. I'm gonna hire them. They sounded really good. Ask the same questions and give people the same opportunities to interact with you. Audit salaries for fairness. Who, and you can raise your eyebrows if you want, who's ever left a job because you found that you were being paid less than someone else? I know, right? Your talent will absolutely leave you if you're underpaying them, and they deserve to leave you if you're underpaying them. If anybody here is getting paid less than your coworkers, like, please meet me for a free beer after class. Where possible and where you can, seek out and remove the bad actors. Does anybody know about the missing stair concept? Cool. It's saying, the missing stair concept is the idea that a lot of times in families or organizations or social groups, we get really used to working around bad actors. You say, well, don't go to such and such for feedback because they'll just yell at you. Go do this instead. Go do that instead. Instead of having difficult conversations and doing the difficult thing of removing people that are causing damage, you cause entire organizations to work around them. Wherever possible, listen to people, ask for their feedback, and deliberately pull out those people who are making other people's lives more difficult. Offer support and training. If you're an employer, this has immediate benefit. You're teaching people more things. You're teaching people to use Elixir or whatever. It has an immediate positive benefit for you. When you talk to developers and you talk to technologists about why they left their job, I found out I was getting paid less than someone else. So-and-so was a jerk, or I wasn't learning anything, are the reasons you hear again and again. This is fantastic for recruitment. This is fantastic for retention, but it's also the right thing to do. And these are all little tiny things you can do as individuals or as a company to make your lives immediately better in ways that slowly contribute to the tech culture feeling better. You don't have to give up your entire life and dedicate your life to the cause. But some people absolutely do. Some people see the things that are broken in their company or in their community or in the tech industry and give everything up. They go and do this full time. That's also fantastic. I don't mean to sort of convert any of you and send you rushing out to dedicate your lives to making things better. But if there are people doing that, support them where they can. This has been a kind of depressing talk about how everything's terrible, but it's also great. It can be legitimately great. Not all of us, it's not evenly distributed, but working in tech relative to other industries, we have either incredible privileges or incredible opportunities for that. But we've developed our industry in a way that's not always healthy and doesn't always work well for people. But as individuals or as companies, we can make very, very tiny steps that almost immediately make our lives less crushingly miserable. And these teeny tiny steps have an incredible potential to have an overall cultural change that sucks less. Things aren't always fantastic. We don't always work in ways that let us be the happy geniuses we'd like to be. But they can get a little bit better, a little bit at a time. Thank you very much.